when you're thinking of a client who is very interest rate focused, the first thing you have to understand is that they should be. Some of you may not enjoy hearing that, but our industry has promoted one thing and one thing only for the last 80 years, which is low rate, low fee. If you go online and you type in how to find the best mortgage lender, you get 20 pages of low rate, low fee. Now, if you go online and type in how to become a successful homeowner, well, that kind of breaks the internet, right? It doesn't actually know what that means, nor do your clients, because clients aren't thinking anything other than I want to buy a home and I need a mortgage to do that, right? And I just need to find the cheapest mortgage, especially now because that property is way more expensive than they wanted it to be. Now the rate is higher, which means their monthly payment's higher, their out of pocket is higher. So their anxiety is forcing them to think, okay, well, I can only control one thing. I obviously cannot control the price of the home, right? And I can't control, the mathematical equation of what my payment's going to be, but I can control the interest rate, right? I can shop around until until I found 40 different lenders who are giving me 40 different quotes, and I can, buy the rate down, and I can do all sorts of things to get a low monthly payment. You have to expect that. You have to know it's coming, and you have to be really excited to answer that question. So I'm going to work through that with you here a little bit today, show you some of the things that we utilize. And as an Art of Homeownership partner, I obviously use Art of Homeownership in my business as well. It's important to expand the client's scope of vision, right? Because they believe I need a lender for 30 days and I need to get the cheapest rate because after that, the next 30 years is up to me, right? So I need the cheapest mortgage payment I can. That way I can try and be as successful as possible. So typically on the first phone call, I'm going to ask the client the question, let's say it's, Mr. Smith. So Mr. Smith, thank you for reaching out. I'm glad you referred to us or you found us online. Are you familiar with what makes our mortgage practice unique and different? They're almost always going to say no, unless your realtor partners have been really well scripted. And I want to stop there and say, okay, it's important that you understand, we help people not just own homes, but we help them become really successful homeowners. Now, I'm assuming that, if you had all the money in the world, you would just buy your home all cash, right? And clients always kind of laugh and be like, yes. So I understand you don't want a mortgage, right? Very few people do. But I want to help you understand why it's a really great financial tool. Even people who have all the money in the world, we still educate them on why using mortgage financing is actually helpful. And then I'm going to get into a few other things that we'll kind of talk about later. But what's the most important thing to you when it comes to working with a mortgage lender or choosing the mortgage lender that's best for you? Almost always the client's going to be, well, we just want a competitive rate. We want someone who's going to, close on time and, give us good service. It's pretty much the three things you're going to hear always. And then my response is, awesome. Well, we can absolutely meet all of those needs. I want to help you understand how we help you in three ways, right? We're going to talk about how we help you before the transaction, how we help you during the transaction, but most importantly, Mr. Smith, is how we're going to help you after the transaction. Because a lot of times when I ask clients what they're looking for in a mortgage lender, they say competitive, low rates, good terms, that kind of stuff. And I always ask the question as to why. Why is that important? And I say, well, we just want as good of a mortgage payment as we can find, right? We don't want to overspend on the home. And I say, is that because you want to achieve a level of success as a homeowner? Or is that because you want to achieve a level of wealth as a homeowner? And they go, yeah, over time, obviously it'd be great to grow our wealth. And if we have a lower payment, that helps us do that. And I say, okay, well, I want to help you understand why interest rates in the next 30 days or the time in which you purchase your home really don't matter all that much. So let's first talk about before. All right, what we're going to do is we're going to ask you questions that are really different. Have you ever gone through this process before, Mr. Smith? Yeah, I've actually been pre-approved by a few other lenders, but my realtor told me to call you. Good. That's great. It's always good for us to have you have some sort of expectation or what's different between other lenders. So I'm glad you did that. Do you mind if I take a guess at how that went? Sure. You called them. They had you fill out an online application. You then, they requested some documents. They gave you a pre-approval letter with some sort of rate quote and told you to go shop for homes. And Mr. Smith says, yeah, that's pretty much how it went. And I said, okay, well, first I just want to apologize that happened. And they always go, well, why? And I say, well, because that's really just someone who's trying to sell you debt. And unfortunately, that's just the mortgage industry. What makes us unique and different is that we actually spend the time to ask you questions that aren't just to qualify you for a mortgage. Because to qualify you for a mortgage is pretty easy. But to give you all the right advice and guidance and strategy on how to structure this mortgage now, that way it helps you well into the future, that takes intentionality. So we're going to spend some time to do that here today. I'm going to ask you questions that are not on the mortgage application that actually don't have anything to do with helping you qualify for the mortgage, but have everything to do with the advice I'm going to give you in our consultation. So we'll spend some time doing that today. During the consultation, I'm going to help show you how to become, a really bulletproof buyer. That's kind of the term we use. You guys can call it whatever you want. And part of that is how we help your offer stand out, right? Because, and I'm going to share my screen real quick here, Val, so if you can put it in. Okay, hopefully you guys can see this. So Mr. Smith, I'm not sure if you're aware, but there was a lot of showings on homes that were happening just in 2018, 2019. Pandemic hit, that number went up, but you can see in 2021 and especially in 2022, how many showings are now happening. What this means is your competition is incredibly fierce. And the problem that I've seen with a lot of clients is they'll come to us, unfortunately, too late. They'll come to us and they'll say, hey, we've been trying to buy a home for 6 months now, and finally our realtor told us to get in touch with you because we were using another realtor and another lender, and we just couldn't get an offer accepted. And what I find is clients will try and get the absolute cheapest interest rate, but they'll never get a home. So, Mr. Smith, it's important that you understand, our clients don't actually use us because we're the cheapest. We're the number one lender in Orange County. We're one of the top 25 lenders in the entire country. And I'm not saying that to have any ego. I'm saying that because I want you to be aware of why our clients are choosing us. Our clients are choosing to work with us as a mortgage lender because we help them get their offer accepted at a much higher level than any other lender. We're almost 7 times the average, which means that you actually get in a home. But ultimately, the reason they choose us is because, and 75% of them will tell you this, we're the only lender that's committed to helping them for the next 30 years in a really proactive way to help you grow your generational wealth, to help you plan for, proactively for future real estate goals, to help you navigate the changes and evolutions in your life, right, to ultimately become a successful homeowner. So I'm going to walk you through those things. But when you can see here, we had clients that were trying to buy homes back here in January of 2021 that still are not in them, that finally got in them, closer to January of 2022. You see how much they lost in the home price appreciation? They could have got a much cheaper home, but they were always trying to find the cheapest interest rate. And that cheapest interest rate cost them a ton of money because the homes kept going up and up in price. So I'm going to stop sharing here for a second. I will move back into this. So, Mr. Smith, we're going to go through the exercise today, and in the consultation, we'll walk you through that. So then what I would do is I would go through, because I've already addressed, hey, we're not the cheapest, but here's why our clients are choosing us. Then we're going to get into the consultation with Mr. Smith. And in the consultation, I'm going to show him all the things that we do, right, for the next 30 years. But I'm going to start with the before process. So I'm going to say, all right, Mr. Smith, before we help you get into a home, it's imperative that you have the right mentality going into this. So, are you interested in buying a home, or are you committed to buying a home? And most people don't think in those terms, right? They just, I want to buy a house. Okay, well, I want to, go on a vacation for 5 years straight. Do I want to do that? Yes. Am I committed to doing that? No. Right? So if you get them to reframe and they say, well, what's the difference? I say, well, if you're committed to buying a home, there's some really significant steps that you're going to need to take. And we need to make you look just as good as cash, if not actually use cash to buy that property. So what we do is, by helping you become a bulletproof buyer, we are going to fully underwrite your loan, meaning that it's actually going to go through underwriting. So when you write an offer, you can remove your loan contingencies. we're going to do an appraisal gap strategy on every property. Right? So we're going to think, okay, what could the potential for this property appraise at from a low perspective? We're going to look at the gap between the purchase price and the low appraisal, and we're going to figure out if that's going to have any sort of negative impact on your financing. Because oftentimes homes can come in 10% low and your down payment remains exactly the same and your monthly payment remains exactly the same. If that's the case, you're not too concerned if it comes in low. So we would actually encourage you to remove your appraisal contingency at that point as well too. Right? We have those two things done. We put a 15-day closing time frame in place, and now you look just like cash, right? Because you're going to perform the same as cash from a risk perspective with the loan. You're going to perform the same as cash as a time perspective because we're going to close in 15 days. Both are going to have normal home inspection. Your earnest money will still be protected by the home inspection. But now we're going to call the listing agent on every single one of these, and it's likely we'll know them. We're going to come up with an offer strategy before every offer between me, you, and your real estate agent. And we're going to put our absolute best foot forward. And that's what gets us, a 7 times offer acceptance rate over the average lender. And I promise you, getting the home is way more important than the cheapest interest rate today. And I'll show you that here in a second. So this will give you a golden ticket to be able to buy that property. If you're committed, that's something you need to do. What are your thoughts? Are you committed to doing that? 100% of the time, clients say, yes, absolutely, let's go do that. And then this is where you need to stop them, right? This is where you need to get their commitment. So I'm going to say, awesome, Mr. Smith, there's just 3 things we need you to commit to in order for us to do that. One is that we just want to make certain that you're really, looking to write offers on properties in the next 30 days. And if you're not, it's completely okay. We're not trying to rush you into this. There's no urgency on our end. But we've done this for people in the past and we haven't really set that expectation. And they're like, oh, well, we're not quite ready. Maybe we'll start looking in 90 days. And we just didn't realize it. And so we had to start the process all over again, re-underwrite the file, get new documents from you, update credit again. And so in order to not have that problem, we just want to make sure you're committed to writing offers on homes in the next 30 days. If that's the case, let's definitely start now. Client, yes. Mr. Smith says yes, totally committed. Okay, great. Next is we just want to make sure you're okay getting us more documentation than you would have normally. For example, you've been pre-approved by other lenders. You got them kind of the bare minimum for us to look at it and say, yeah, it looks pretty good. I think you're pre-approved. In order to get fully underwritten, we want to get all the work, the paperwork done that most lenders wait until the 11th hour to ask for. We want to get it done up front, right? That way you have, no risk, you have no stress, no anxiety. But we're going to ask for some more documentation that, typically wouldn't happen at pre-approval. Are you okay with that? Yeah, no problem at all. That's great. Awesome. Well, the last thing, Mr. Smith, is we just want to make sure that you are committed to really using us as the mortgage lender. And the reason we ask for that commitment is because we've done this for clients in the past. We've got them their offer accepted. We've helped them save money on the price of the home because you don't have to be the highest price if you look like cash. That's why all cash offers typically win at 2.6% less of a purchase price than people who have financed offers. Right? It's just because cash is less risky and it's faster. So we help them get their offer accepted at lower prices. We help them get their first offer accepted as opposed to their 10th offer accepted. And then they turn around and say, oh, we found another, lender that can be, is an 1/8 of a point lower or a 1/4 of a point lower. And not only does that mess up the entire transaction because the agents know that lender won't perform, but it really puts us in a tough spot because in order to do this underwriting, in order to get you that golden ticket, our underwriters, we're going to pay our underwriters, we're going to pay our processors, we're going to pay our loan coordinators. Everybody's going to work diligently to put you in a position to make you look like the absolute best home buyer for every seller. We're just not going to charge you to do that, right? We're not going to charge you for all that work because we know that it will absolutely help you stand out in this market and will help you get an offer accepted. And so because we're going to put all that time and effort into it, we just want to make sure you're committed and you've done your due diligence. And, at that point, more often than not, clients say, yeah, no problem. You guys are great. Let's go. Now, not to say that they can't change their mind and come back later, but you have a much higher likelihood of keeping that client without being the cheapest lender out there. Now, let's say we get to that point and this does happen. And Mr. Smith goes, man, that all sounds good. I just, I feel like I should do some more due diligence. I feel like I should shop around with some other lenders. I just, I can't really make that commitment yet. If you hear that, don't take offense to it, right? Stay above the line and realize that's great. Like that's what we've unfortunately taught people to do, is just look around. And so what I'm going to say here is, Mr. Smith, that's great. And I'm going to share my screen. Val, if you can put it through for me. So what I'll do here is I'll just go to my Art of Homeownership page here. And if you're an Art of Homeownership partner, this is the e-learning platform. So you can just go in here. You can really type in anything you want, but I'm just going to type in questions because I know it comes up. So questions to help your clients shop for other mortgage professionals, along with a lot of other things here. So I'm going to click on that, and I'm going to say, Mr. Smith, I'm going to give you all of these questions. I want you to ask when you're looking at other mortgage lenders. I want you to ask them some of these questions because I really believe this will help you understand us versus them, right? Obviously, you're going to ask rate and term, but the problem is, nobody can lock your interest rate until you actually find a home. Now, there are some lenders that can lock in advance, as can we. I don't necessarily recommend doing that at this phase in the market. That's a whole other conversation. But here's the questions you want to ask that will help you pick the right lender for you and your family. All right, and then these are the 8 questions. I won't need to read them all right now because I only have a couple minutes left. But stuff like, how can you help me gain a competitive advantage to get my offer accepted? All right, what process do you and your team have in place to make sure I get proactive communication? How do you and your team help us with relocation from one home to the next? And the biggest one, what system do you have in place to help me manage my entire real estate financial situation after closing to ensure we become the most successful homeowners? If any lender who is not trained and versed and confident that they do these things is asked these questions, they're going to fall immediately on their face. They're not going to know how to answer these questions. And that will create way more confidence that you are the right lender to help, to help that client. So we're happy to send these out to everybody who needs them, along with anything else you need on an e-learning platform would be here in this system. So all the stuff that you'll need. So now, at this point, I'm going to say, Mr. Smith, again, we know the market's moving quickly. We know that we want to, help you do this. Let's do this. Let's follow up. Today is Saturday. We're having the consultation. Call as many lenders as you can. If you want to try and call them on the weekend, good luck. There's not a lot of them available. But if you call them, let's say Monday or Tuesday, let's meet. Let's do a call at 10 o'clock on Wednesday. Have your notes on who you met with and the questions you asked and the answers you got, and let's compare what you're hearing and what you're seeing. And if we are not the best lender for you, then I'll encourage you to use another lender, right? But if we are, then we can go ahead and start the process where we get you fully underwritten and get you that golden ticket. Sound good? Great. So that's how you want to handle somebody from a price perspective, just to get that level of commitment in the before portion of it. Now, in that same consultation with Mr. Smith, I'm going to say, so Mr. Smith, that's just the before aspect of buying a home. The during, you can look up our online reviews. We're one of the highest 5-star rated review lenders in the country. We really focused on allowing you to experience the joy of becoming a homeowner, our proactive communication, our on-time closing guarantee. But in all honesty, Mr. Smith, the during part of the transaction, the customer service, the speed, closing on time, the communication, the doing what we say we're going to do, those all really should be expected. So if I had to break down like how valuable the during part of the transaction is from a lender's perspective, I'd say it's about 10%. I'd say about 25 to 30% is the before. Like that's how much value you should place on the before work, 10% during. And we're talking about 60 to 65% of the value of the lender you choose is after you close the transaction. And you may not be aware of this, but the 30 days leading up to the closing date are not even close to as important as the 30 years after you choose to be in that home. Because that is how you're going to make or break being a successful homeowner. Your generational wealth will be impacted by the questions you ask or don't ask, the opportunities you take or don't take advantage of. And we are really committed to that. And that's why we are one of the top lenders in the country. That's why our clients choose us, is because they thought that they just needed a cheap mortgage. But what they realized was what they actually needed was a group of people and a team committed helping them do things they wouldn't have done otherwise. Because wealthy people aren't wealthy because they have money. They're wealthy because they have information and they have people providing them that information. So, Mr. Smith, let me just show you what that looks like. So I'm going to share my screen again real quick here, Val. So I'm going to go into my Art of Homeownership page, which as an Art of Homeownership partner, you guys would have this. This is actually labeled the Neo Experience. We've white labeled it for the company, but this is what every Art of Homeownership page would look like. I'm just going to go here. I'm going to say, so Mr. Smith, once you buy a home, I'm not sure if you're aware of this, but 70% of Americans have some form of regret within a year of buying their home. And the number one regret that we typically hear is people underestimate home maintenance, home repair, and home upkeep. So our team, along with our real estate professional, let's call it Bob the Realtor, we are going to proactively help you keep your home in great shape and actually increase that home's value over time. Just in the first year alone, the average is about $8,500 if mismanaged that somebody will overpay for this service. So we can save you just that number alone. Right? Imagine how low your interest rate would need to be just to offset that in the first year. And what we do is we help you with maintenance reminders, right? So you're never going to forget about upkeep. You don't have to fix things when they break. You can be proactive. We help you with all your home improvements, and you can save money there. We help you with your documentation storage. So everything, your home insurance, your home warranty, all the data from your home will all be full in here. Any appliance information, service providers, home inventory. So all of this is going to be documented in your home binder. And everything you need will be proactively updated and kept in there. And so this is where we believe we can help you not only keep your home in great shape, but when you go to sell your home, you can maximize the return on investment by saying this home comes with its own home concierge, so on and so forth. Also, on a monthly basis, we're going to ensure that we are helping you understand your net worth of your home. This is an example of what you're going to see on a monthly basis. And this is, going to be the most accurate home value you can find anywhere online, because between us and Bob, your agent, we're going to keep it updated for you. In anything and everything you need, all of our videos are going to be in here. So let's just say you're thinking about buying an investment property, right? Our system will show you what you could buy, and then you can just click on it, and we'll have a video explaining how you then buy that home. And then you can just click here, and we can start having a conversation on how we help you finance it, creating the strategy and creating the impact. And then we help you with every other aspect of real estate or finance here as well. We're going to make sure that you're always connected with the right people to help you with insurance, life insurance, and estate planning, making sure you have generational wealth planning in place, making sure that you have retirement planning in place after you buy your home. And not only are we going to call you 3 months after or 6 months after, but every single year, our client success team is going to call you to do an annual financial review. And keep in mind, we're not selling you anything here, but this is where we help you make really good decisions, right? And this is where we, ensure that you're maximizing your tax benefits, that you're tracking for retirement, that you're planning with parents and children generationally, right? That that there's going to be things that are changing and evolving in your life, and the decisions you make or don't make are going to be really what is the difference between you owning a home and being a successful homeowner. We're also going to make sure that you're always in the right loan at the right time. And this is why I'm really trying to help our clients understand that interest rates right now really don't matter. So let me show you this slide here. This is the 10-year Treasury, which interest rates aren't directly correlated to, but indirectly very correlated to. So as the 10-year Treasury goes up, our interest rates go up. As it goes down, mortgage interest rates go down. What you'll see here, going all the way back to 1980, is basically the chart of the 10-year Treasury, which right now is at 3.14. Every rise you see here is followed by a decline, right? So interest rates are rising and they decline, and then they rise and they decline, and they rise and they decline. Now, the largest from the time we started rising to the time we started declining is 18 months. None of these are longer than 18 months, right? And what you can see here is we just happened to be right here. We're at when the rates started climbing in 6 of 2020. We're actually 2 years into this rate climb cycle, meaning that it's likely in the next 6 to 12 months, even if it's 18 to 24 months, we're going to see a downward move. So the rate which you get today will likely not be the rate you have for the next, year to 2 years. And that's why, the important thing is you have a team of people who are helping you do that. And we have a combination of technology combined with our client success team that will ensure you're always in the right loan and the right home at the right time. And Mr. Smith, I wanted to show you this because look at these questions here, right? Should I refinance a mortgage to a lower payment? Should I pay down my mortgage faster, adjustable to fixed, take cash out, move up, down, out of the area? Should I rent my home, second home, investment property? What happens if I inherit money, reverse mortgages, divorce, separation? How often are you and your wife going to ask yourself these questions on an annual basis? And just for everybody on here, I've had clients look at each other in the room and they go, yeah, we're probably not going to ask ourselves those questions. And I say, well, let's just say that you did. Right? Let's say that you just said, should I move up? Should I move down? Should I take cash out of my home to pay off things? And if I do, how? Right? Would you be 100% confident in how to answer these questions as your life is constantly changing and evolving? And Mr. Smith's going to say, no, probably not. And my response is going to be, Mr. Smith, that's the problem, is that most of the mortgage industry believes that this is your responsibility. We believe it's ours. Right? So when you're thinking about what you really want, right, you're thinking, oh, I want a low interest rate. But what you need to become a successful homeowner is somebody who's helping you in all these areas. Right? We're going to help you maximize your wealth through real estate. We're going to help you with relocating. That way, if you ever go to sell your home, we can maximize your home sales price by giving you money to upgrade it at no cost. Right? And then if you need to buy a new home before selling your departing residence, we can actually help you buy that new home with all cash. Right? You can then move into that new home. You now have time to sell your departing residence, and then you can use those proceeds to complete that transaction. So I want you to think about our relationship between you and us as your mortgage lender and Bob as your real estate professional as more than transactional for the next 30 days. Because unfortunately, that's the only thing that the real estate and mortgage industry has been for the last 100 years. It's just very transactional. And then once the transaction's done, you're off on your own. You'll get some cards in the mail and some emails that have nothing to do with you. And you'll think, okay, well, now I have a home and a mortgage and the rest of my life is up to me to figure out. We are here to tell you that's not what we're doing. Right? We are not here to just sell you debt and to sell you a home. We're here to commit that we're going to help you grow your generational wealth in ways that you wouldn't have. We can show you with real, tangible economic value how we can improve your financial freedom score over time. Now, I know this is new. I know that most people aren't expecting this or even, thinking about it when getting a mortgage. But because of the volatility in interest rates, because of the difficulty in getting your home, even your offer accepted and getting into a home, and because most people just kind of leave you to your own devices after the transactions are done, I believe we're going to be the most valuable person in your life to help you with your real estate and financial needs for the next 30 plus years. So what questions do you have and how can we help? So that's the end of my conversation with Mr. Smith. Team, I will tell you, using the art of homeownership and expanding someone's scope of vision beyond 30 days is going to completely redefine what it means to be a real estate and mortgage professional. When clients know that what we do exists, they will no longer want just a cheap interest rate with the rest of that pressure and stress on them for the next 30 years. They would much rather have a team of advisors and consultants who are proactively helping them do these things. So if you can get them to open up that scope, I had a couple clients in my office. We were getting beat by 3/8 of a point by another lender. And they look at each other after I showed them all this and they said, if you're going to do all this, we're not shopping with anybody else anymore. We need a partner. And we didn't know this was there. We're in. Right? So I'm not going to tell you that happens every time, but I'll tell you it happens more than it doesn't. And right now, we need to tell a different story. Right? We need to make a higher level commitment to our clients because they're scared. And because they're scared, the only thing they know to ask is, how can I get the cheapest thing possible? Because that's the only lever I can pull when I'm fearful. Help them understand that you can remove that fear from them, right? You can help them before the transaction, you can help them during, and you can help them after. I think I'm 2 minutes over. Sorry, Val. I tried to get it right.
No, it's okay. It's all right. That was great. I usually have follow-up questions, but I think that really summed up it really summed up the entire reason that we're hosting this event is to make rates irrelevant. And when you have a value like that, then the clients they're not looking for a lower rate. They're not shopping around, just like you said. Except for those, there are those outliers that you're not going to win every client. And sometimes it's just simply not a good fit. I think that's important to keep in mind too.
Yeah.
But Ryan, thank you so much for joining us today. This was awesome.